the thing that I find interesting is in the old days when most stocks sold for way less than they were worth in terms of intrinsic value, it was very rare to find an American corporation buying the stock in.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in many cases, the activists are urging corporations to buy the stock in heavily, even though it's selling for more than it's worth. This is not a constructive activity, and it's not a desirable change, and it's not a very responsible activity for the activists.
There's been more stupid stuff written on such a simple activity as stock repurchase. Most stupid stuff written and stupid stuff done. I mean, it's a very simple decision in my view as to whether you repurchase your shares. You repurchase them if you've taken care of the needs of the business and your stock is selling for less than it's intrinsically worth. But that I don't see how anything could be more simple. If you had a partnership and a partner wanted to sell out to you at 120% of what the business is worth, you'd say forget it. And if you want to sell out to you at 80% of what it's worth, you'd take it. It's not complicated. But there's so many other motivations that have entered into people's minds about deciding whether to repurchase shares or not. It's gotten to be a very contorted and kind of silly discussion in many cases. And Charlie is right. If you look at the history of share repurchases, it falls off like crazy when stocks are cheap, and it tends to go up dramatically when stocks get fully priced. But it's not what we'll do at Berkshire. At Berkshire, we will presently, we would love to buy it by the bushel basket at 120% of book because we know it's worth a lot more than that. We don't know how much more, but we know it's worth a lot more. And we don't get a chance to do that very often. But if we do get a chance, we'll do it big time. But we won't buy it in at 200% of book because it isn't worth it. And it's not a complicated question, but people that I've been around a lot of managements that announce they're going to buy X worth, and then they buy it regardless of price. And a lot of times the price makes sense, but if it doesn't, they don't seem to stop, and nobody seems to want to stop them. Charlie?
Well, I certainly agree with you.
Okay.
I don't think it's a great age, this age of activism.
You want to expand on that?
Well, it's hard for me to think of many activists I want to marry into the family.
I better stop before he names names. Okay.
I was pretty obnoxious when I was your age and asked a lot of impertinent questions. And not everybody liked me. And so the only way I could get the people to like me a little bit was to get very rich and very generous. That will work.
People will see all kinds of virtues in you if they think you'll write a check. Yeah, the truth is, both Charlie and I were on the obnoxious side early on, but you should get a little smarter about human behavior as you get older. And I turned out to have some pretty good teachers as I went along in terms of what worked. I mean, I have looked at other people during my lifetime and had these wonderful teachers. They weren't teachers in the standard definition, but they were people I admired, and I thought to myself, why do I admire these people? And if I want to be admired myself, why shouldn't I take on some of their qualities? So it's not a complicated proposition. If you look around you at the people you like in your school, write down 3 or 4 things they do that make you like them, and then look around at the 3 or 4 people that turn you off and write down those qualities and decide that you're going to be a person you yourself would like, that you take on the qualities of the person on the left. You're generous, you're friendly, you accept things with good humor, you don't claim credit for things you don't do, all of these things, and they're all possible to do. And if you like that in other people, people are going to like it in you. And if you find things that are kind of obnoxious, you're always late, and you're always claiming credit for more than you do, and you're kind of negative on everything, and you don't like those in other people, get rid of them in yourself, and you'll find out it works pretty well.
And it really works in marriage. If you can change yourself instead of trying to change your spouse, that's a good idea.
Charlie has said the most important thing in selecting a marriage partner is that you don't look for intelligence or humor or character. It says you look for someone with low expectations.
I live in California, of course, where there's like a 13.5% tax on long-term capital gains, non-deductible for federal purposes. That's a ridiculous kind of a tax to have in California because it drives the rich people out. Hawaii and Florida have enough sense to know that rich people don't commit a lot of crimes, they don't burden the schools, they provide a whole lot of medical expenditures that are good for everybody else's income. I think California has a really stupid tax policy. But I don't think the U.S. policy is. I don't think the U.S. policy is bad at all.
And it's non-deductible because of the alternative minimum tax?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That really wasn't the case before, but
No, it's always
kind
been
of slipped in.
They did it on purpose. No, they did it on purpose.
We're here, early stages of paranoia.
Yeah. But it's amazing. The idea of driving the rich people out. Florida is so much smarter than California on that subject. And it is really demented. Who in the hell doesn't want rich people coming in and spending in their state?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that as you come here to Nebraska for the meeting. Yeah. I would say that I really do think there's some chance this year, and not a tiny chance. I know both Ron Wyden and Orrin Hatch. They're patriotic. They're smart. They want to do the right thing. They've got different ideas about what the right thing is. There's no question about that. But they also know they can't get any place without cooperating. I think the real opportunity is if they work out of the public eye in working on something like this. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are. I think that's the way to get it done. Charlie has always pointed out what would have happened if the Constitutional Convention back there in Philadelphia had been held with every delegate running out immediately to tell the TV cameras how right he was and how wrong everybody else was. It doesn't accomplish much to dig in on positions and not be in a position to compromise, because it takes a lot of compromise to write something when you have two fundamentally different views on some important aspects of the tax code. We give out quotes on the telephone to many, many thousands of people every week. I get the figures every week, and I get the number of quotes, and I get the number of policies sold. And I can tell you the percentages are very substantial that we sell. And we're not selling them if we're charging them more than the people before them. So different people have different weightings for different variables. And the couple you referred to sound like they should get a very good rate from somebody, but they apparently got a better rate from somebody else than us. And that's going to happen perhaps 60% of the time, and 40% of the time we're going to get the business. And since we're only 11% of the whole market now, it means we've got a lot of policyholders yet to gather. It's an interesting question when you're looking at how to evaluate drivers. You know, we know that 16-year-old boys are about as bad as they get. 16-year-old girls are a better class. Does that mean they're better drivers? Not necessarily. It may mean that they don't have the same tendency to show off. It may mean that they don't drive as many miles. It may mean a whole lot of things. So we ask a lot of questions, and other people ask different questions, and we will come up with different rates. But it's definitely worth 15 minutes to call Geico. Charlie?
Well, I would say besides, when you get into the older people's group and you find you're not deteriorating as fast as most of your contemporaries, you may be paying an unfair price for the insurance, but it's a good trade-off.
Gary. Hadn't thought of it that way before.
We've had a hard time buying things in Europe. It's been quite rare. And I think the traditions and the family traditions are different in Europe than they are in the United States and in some other countries. And Germany, of course, has a long tradition of being very good at technology and capitalism. And that's been a godsend to Germany. And we've always admired the way the Germans have performed. The Germans actually work fewer hours than a lot of other people and produce a lot more. And of course, Warren and I are pretty good at that. And so we admire the Germans, particularly the engineering side, but we've been thinking about owning good German companies for a long time, and we finally bought one.
Yeah, but I'll make a prediction. I will predict we buy at least one German company in the next 5 years. I think we are far more on the radar screen than we were just a few years ago in Germany. I think we now have a woman over there who brought, through somebody else as well, but brought Louis to our attention. I think she is going to hear about more things because of her association with us on the transaction and the fact that we tried to get the word out as to her help with us. So I would really be surprised if we don't make at least one deal in Germany in the next 5 years, and I would look forward to it. I mean, we'll be very, very happy. We have to get a business we understand. I've had probably 4 or 5 letters in the last couple months ever since the Louis deal was announced. But there have been very small businesses in practically each case, but we'll get one. We're eager. We got the money, and we do fit the family situation occasionally, and prices may be a little more attractive there than in the United States, although I haven't seen anything yet that we bought. But I would say that there's a reasonable chance that the price of something we're offered over there might catch my attention more than U.S. prices currently.